This week, we're discussing some rumors circulating around new tech from PlayStation. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast, a special Friday edition of the show. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who's had a PSP, a PlayStation Vita, a PSVR, and a PlayStation TV, a bit of a PlayStation tech aficionado, if you will. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
To be clear, I did not have a PS TV.
Oh.
I have a PlayStation branded TV.
Yeah. What did I say?
Didn't they make
Yeah, they did.
It was like a set-top box Vita that was called PS TV.
Yeah, you're right.
Never got my hands on one of those.
Yeah, me neither. And that's actually a great accessory to have with owning a Vita.
I had the opportunity to buy one.
Yep.
Many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently it can't play every game or something like that.
Oh,
if I
okay.
remember correctly. So I decided not to. Like, I think Uncharted Golden Abyss was an example of that because it had so many, like, I don't know if you remember, you had to, like, look at maps by holding your Vita up to a light, and it had to be a really fucking bright light.
I vaguely
to get it to
remember
work. So I think that game, like, didn't work for us. It's like, okay, probably not worth it. I thought about using it for, like, remote play within the house, but PlayStation Remote Play is so dog shit that I didn't bother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like buying the weird tech. So I have a 3D PlayStation branded TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my only big missing piece that I hope to get before I die is PSP Go.
PSP Go. Something that I have managed to get a hold of.
Sure did. My issue is I had an opportunity to buy it many times for like less than $50.
Uh-huh. And now anytime you see it over $50, you're kind of just like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I had one in my hands at GameStop. And they wanted $50, and like a regular used PSP was like about that price. And I was like, I don't really need this for $50. And then I had somebody, like, right when they announced that the PSP Go, like, you weren't going to be able to download games from the store, and you had to like get it on a PS3 or a PC and then like export it over.
Yeah.
I tried to get somebody on Goodwill to sell me one, but they wanted like $75. And I was like, it's just going to be a paperweight in a couple weeks, dude. Like, sell it for less. He told me to screw off. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I was definitely trying to swindle him. But, yeah. So here I am, PSP Go-less.
Mm-hmm. PSP Go-less in Seattle.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to dox you like that.
Yeah, don't come to Seattle. Don't come find me.
Yeah, where I had that like realization where it's just like we both combined do really have like a majority of the ancillary, right? Like, you know, the handhelds and like the outside of just the console, you know, kind of have like the more, you know, I put air quotes around it, gimmicky things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have the new Pro controller, which is, you know, I'd classify that as somewhat gimmicky, right? It's not necessary for the actual like playing on a console. To your point about the remote play, I will say that I've done the remote play on my phone a few times. You know, going to the bathroom, taking a little poo, and and you know, it's like, oh, I got MLB up. I'll continue doing some sell orders, or you know, sort my inventory if I'm playing a game like that, right? Where it's just like I can't actually like play because I don't have like the analogs and stuff, like it's all on screen, and I just can't do that because I suck. But it actually surprisingly runs really smooth, I feel like. Maybe that's just me, but
I mean, my experience is from
yes,
last generation,
right,
from multiple years ago.
Yeah, and
Um,
so that's what I'm kind of saying is like I feel like it might have gotten revamped. So
I hope so.
yeah, because I feel like
That
it's
would
fairly
explain a lot what we are seeing in recent news.
it will indeed. But before we get into that, before we talk about uh what PlayStation might be up to, tell me about your weekend games.
You're gonna be sad.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
I'm talking
Well,
to
it
you.
was a
How could
trip.
I be sad?
Yeah, that's true. It was a travel week for me, so I didn't really play anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did play a little bit of Chinatown Detective Agency. I ended up buying it.
Nice.
It was like $15 with the Game Pass discount, which I think I talked about before.
Yep.
Once a game is like leaving Game Pass, yeah, you get it for a pretty significant discount. I think this was like 40% off or something like that. So I got it. It's a game I really want to play. Um, yeah, hopefully, I'll just continue playing through it. But that's about it. I played a couple games of Madden, mostly because I didn't have time to play anything else. But I do have other news about a piece of hardware that I bought.
Okay.
And before you ask, no, it's not a Series S.
Okay. Okay.
Is it a PS5? Is it PSVR?
Well, wait. If you bought PSVR, that wouldn't make sense.
Unless.
Unless you bought a PS5 and you bought PSVR too.
Mhm.
Did you do that?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say.
You think I have $1,000 to piss away?
Well, no, I don't. But also, I'm not gonna tell you how to spend your money. Secondly, I was just saying because that's how you were leading, and I was getting nervous that you didn't tell me, and I was like, maybe our friendship isn't as strong as I once thought it was. Because how
That's
would I not have known?
okay. Well, are you gonna be mad that I didn't tell you about my other purchase before the podcast? So we're all kind of learning this together, but also you're still gonna learn this a day before everyone else.
Okay,
Um, no, I did not buy a PSVR, and I don't suggest that anybody buy a PSVR because they're probably gonna slice the price on it.
something I was gonna talk about in a few, but yes.
Okay, then I will hold off. I bought a controller
Oh,
because I don't have $1,000 to spend on a PS5 and a PSVR, but fuck, if Xbox comes out with a new controller, what's $80 at the end of the day?
we all have our vices.
Yeah,
So you bought a new
I have
Xbox
my
controller.
devices, but I did. I don't know if you saw, but they came out with one this week for pre-order
I
for
did. You
Earth
know what? Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
for Earth Day,
I'm
and it comes with, or it is made out of, if I remember correctly, recycled CDs
Oh, okay.
and parts from recycled Xbox controllers, and I think just like generally other plastics.
Yeah, I see like water jugs.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool, and honestly, it's kind of hitting all my color schemes. It looks eerily similar to the custom uh, Xbox design
Yes.
controller I made.
So I did see about this and I just pulled it up again and that's what the first thing I was gonna say is I love the colorway of this thing.
It's just very interesting.
It's just got different greens in there. You have like almost like a greenish blue on the back and like a gold and gray on the back as well. Uh it's very satisfying to look at though. I do really
Yeah.
enjoy it. I love it. That's awesome. I'm
So
I'm
I couldn't turn that down. That's how I'm celebrating Earth Day. It's also nice because it comes with a rechargeable battery pack, which you can't have enough of those.
yes, for sure. What's the battery? I don't know if we've talked about this. I'm sure we have because I've brought up that the PS5 controller's battery life is real bad. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess are the Xbox controllers still batteries? Like unless you have
They
a battery pack, or do they all come with a battery pack?
They primarily just come with batteries.
Okay.
Um, this is the first one I've seen in a while that's like actually launching with a battery pack. Like, there's no other option.
Uh-huh.
You can like go on the Microsoft Store and they sell bundles, or even like Best Buy sells bundles of the rechargeable packs and then the controllers as well. Um, so this is the first one that I've bought that comes with the pack. I have two of them already, and they're nice. They don't last quite as long as double A's,
Right.
but I was actually going to buy these for each of my controllers, but then I decided to buy just like regular rechargeable double A's. Like, I got a pack of like 30 of them or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And it was like $25 for that pack. And these recharge packs are around that price alone.
That makes sense.
And the individual double A's tend to last a lot longer than these packs. And then you just recharge them, go grab a fresh pair, and throw them in. So I just found that to be a little more effective.
Yeah.
But still nice to have. Nice that I can just plug this in and be done with it.
Well, that's cool. I'm a sucker for I'm all in on uh different colorways of controllers. I mean, honestly, somewhat grateful that Sony doesn't have a design lab because like, you know what? Yeah, I'm actually cool if you just curate colors for me. They've done a pretty good job with the colors they've released. Like, I got like the sky blue one that they put out. Love that.
Mhm.
And then they've got like also that was released at that time. They have like this like nice like magenta or pink. But it's like a dark and like deep pink.
Yeah.
Not like a hot pink, but I love the look of that. They've done some good ones. They've done like the classic all black, which it like just I love the two-tone colorway of the PS5, but I've seen people like change the faceplates and just make it all black, like, you know, basically every past uh first release console has been since the PS2, right? Um and
Yeah.
there's just something about like that. It just feels like very like, okay, yeah, that just feels more Sony. But yeah, I'm like a sucker for getting all the different controllers now.
It's one of those things that's nice because I love buying hardware. I don't know why. Because I don't need half the shit I buy. But like, you know, 60, $70 every like I'm trying to think of the last I think the last Xbox controller I bought was I can't remember if it was the 20th anniversary or the custom one I got, but I got them in rather quick succession of each other.
Hmm.
Not including the one that I bought for Justine this past year. But like getting a new controller like every year and a half to 2 years is just like it kind of itches that scratch of getting new hardware.
Yeah, nice little dopamine kick of like retail therapy.
Yeah, and now it's like, okay, well, I at least didn't buy a Series S for no reason,
Yeah, but that
even
also
though
would
when
have
I
felt good.
yeah, it would have, it sure would have.
Yeah, that's why I said I think back during the holidays where it's just like I'm just gonna keep asking like when somebody's like, what do you want for Christmas or whatever? It's just like I don't want or need anything, so I'm just gonna ask for a controller because it feels like the most like easy to like bullet to bite for somebody where it's just like, yeah, I'll buy you a controller, no
And then
questions
it's
asked.
like exactly, and then it's hard to mess up because it's like a very physical thing. You can literally like or generally not an Xbox, I guess, but with PlayStation, see it through the box and know you're getting the right thing. But
Mm-hmm.
like if you have like, I think we both have those people in our lives who are like, I want to get you like gifting is their love language,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like they know that you like video games and like you can't play video games without this thing they're getting you, so they kind of find worth in that too, and it all works out really well.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, just all about me and give me stuff.
Right.
All right, so not a super busy week though for you, but a nice little hardware buy. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I admittedly didn't have a very exciting week either. We had some people visiting, so almost like a travel week. I did play some MLB The Show, obviously, because I wake up at ungodly times.
Mhm.
So something to kind of kill the time. But we had the GameCube busted out, and
Very nice.
we were playing some backyard baseball on there, and we also played Mario Party 7, which we had played with you when Shelby and I came and visited, and just absolute straight dominance by myself as Waluigi. Uh, I had 7 stars to, I think second place had 4 when we went into bonus stars, and then I proceeded to get all 3 bonus stars. Um, you know, it's funny. Shelby and I had a conversation beforehand outside of the living room. I was like, I don't really want to play Mario Party. She was like, why? You don't want to dominate? And I kind of was like looking at her like, yeah, kind of. And like the typical Mario Party stuff, like I said, when we've talked about Mario Party in the past, it was the typical thing of like just dumb luck stuff happened, right? And it's just like I don't have any. I couldn't have controlled this. Like there was no skill involved here. Like when I win the mini games, it's like okay, I deserved that. But like when it's just like nonsense because of how I rolled a die, it's just like then I feel bad because I'm just so naturally good at a game of luck. But anyway, so that was fun. Mario Party 7 is a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoy it. The game that we played, I was like, okay, all right, it had some good mini games and stuff. And then when we played it uh last night or 2 nights ago, I was like, damn, this is like giving me all the nostalgia because you and I played like with our brothers, we played Mario Party 4.
Mhm.
I don't know if I ever played Mario Party 5, and I know like Shelby and I had played Mario Party 6 a few times. But regardless, like what I had known was like Mario Party 4. And 7 has like that same feel because it's on the GameCube, but like it just feels like it has so much more. Maybe it's like nostalgia bias or something, but like it just feels so much better and feels like it has so much more than these like Switch versions that have come out. Um and yeah, it's made me really like yearn for that some more. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Switch ones have felt pretty empty. Don't get me wrong. I really like Superstars. Um, but I know we've talked about this before, but we're at a point where we're just like going through the mini games because we've done all the maps.
right.
So
And you feel
it's
like
just
they took out the fun of Mario Party, which is like is those long games by making them so like truncated and short and like fast play. That's just like I love that that option exists. Something that should have been in the old games, but like again, there's something satisfying about like doing a 50 turn game or like
right.
even the one that we did was 25 turns and it was long and it was an adventure, but like it was so much fun. So, anyway, that's I think it though. Maybe Cult of the Lamb. I can't remember when we recorded and when I last streamed. So, there might have been some Cult of the Lamb in there. Still a great game. But yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. But now we have a rumor. I guess is how we want to go about this. So, we have to take stuff with a grain of salt. And it does come from Tom Henderson again, who was the one when we talked about these potential midlife upgrades for the consoles, the current gen consoles. He was also the one to break that news or rumor. And so I think you and I both sit in the same boat of like we're a little skeptical
Hmm.
when we see stuff from him, but he does have a decent track record in the past, so it's tough. But
It's
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I don't want to say too much because I've generally liked his work.
Hmm.
I feel like since he's been getting more involved with this particular brand that he's getting involved with, it's been a lot of shock factor things. So
Yeah.
I only feel compelled to say that because this is now back-to-back stories where people are like, okay, like it's very contentious.
Yeah. Well, this one is claiming that Sony is working on a handheld once again. It's been a lot of, every what, 6 months to a year, somebody remembers that the Vita was a thing and tweets about it, and it gets traction for all of a week, and then it goes into not existing anymore once again. And so I saw this and immediately was just like, oh, here we go. And then I
Mhm.
started looking at it and started getting more of the information around it. And, I kind of said to you where I can actually kind of see a path here. If somebody told me, like, oh, they're making the PS Vita 2, I'd be like, fuck you. No, they aren't. I don't believe you. Get bent. Other words to, you know, showcase my emotions. But this is like claiming that it's basically going to just be like a remote play device. Um, and that, like, to me in my like brain, I'm like, okay, I can maybe see them doing that. Uh, I mean, remote play is something that they've, for the most part, been kind of pushing quite a bit. Uh, you know, they, I think, revamped the computer app for it, and I know they partnered. It's not Sony like made, but they partnered with you're gonna know the brand. But the two,
Backbone.
yeah, that attached to your phone,
Yeah.
that effectively like turn into they're like both halves of a effectively a dual sense controller, but for your
Yeah.
phone.
Backbone.
Um, so I know there's been like stuff like that. And yeah, I again, I couldn't see them going full in and basically making a switch. But making a switch that allows you to play your PS5 but in your hands completely. Again, it makes sense. I can see it. I can see them going for this.
Hmm. Do we, before I share my thoughts, do we know if this is going to be 5G enabled at all or rumored to be 5G enabled?
I have not seen anything about 5G. I have seen that it will require um an online connection at all times.
Which makes
And
sense if it's a
yeah,
streaming device.
yep. And I believe though it was Benji Sales who said, and I actually didn't know this, and I didn't try this myself, so I don't know if you know for sure, but he said that uh, it still would be portable as long as you have an internet connection. If that makes sense. But like it doesn't need to be on the same internet as the PS5,
Hmm.
which I didn't realize. I thought they had to share the network to have that like connectivity.
No, you just need to have uh, universal plug and play turned on your router, and you can access it from wherever.
So there you have it. But
On the PS3, you had to be on the same internet because,
okay.
well, yeah, you had to be on the same internet, or like with the PSP, it had like a direct connection that you could do as well. Um, yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, I don't know if 5G, LTE, all that stuff. I don't know if any of that's going to be a thing or not, but
Hmm.
that is the one thing is that it's not a cloud streaming device. It is just a device to be able to control your PS5 with. But you need to have an internet connection to be able to do that.
Hmm. So, I think this is my thought. If it's not 5G enabled, whoever is excited about this better own a fucking Wii U.
Yes, yes,
Um,
because that's what
if
it is,
not,
right? Like
if
basically,
if if it's not within certain bounds, like okay, you go to a friend's house and you have this device and you're on their Wi-Fi. Like, obviously, that's not what the Wii U did. But if you're using this, like, you look at that Logitech G Play
Hmm.
or whatever it was called, it was a prime example of that. It's like this is basically no good, or it is without a doubt no good unless you're on Wi-Fi because it doesn't have 5G.
Right.
So you kind of get into the well, what's the point realm with that? Okay, you can go to a friend's house and maybe stream your console. That depends on your friend's internet, your house internet, whatever. 5G is at least, like, again, within certain bounds, reliably consistent. Um, you're obviously not going to get 150 up and 60 down if you're in the middle of the fucking woods, but um, so that's my first thought is if this is just Wi-Fi enabled, I think you're getting into Wii U territory, which obviously didn't do well.
Hmm.
Um, and my honestly, one, I don't see any bounds to this argument, so I feel like, and it's working because we're talking about it, and Brad Sams talked about it too. A lot of people are talking about it. There really is no proof that this is even a thing.
Right.
So take that into consideration. But for the sake of talking about it, um, I think it's an interesting. Let's assume it's real. It's 5G enabled. I think it's an interesting take. So we talk about cloud gaming a lot.
Hmm.
Um, Xbox has their platform. Microsoft's being the company behind Xbox. Nvidia has their platform. Nvidia has a really strong cloud computing platform that's used for other purposes. Amazon streaming platform also has a cloud platform for business. We'll include Google in it. Had Stadia, big infrastructure for cloud computing. Sony does not have that infrastructure.
Hmm.
And whether we like it or not, I think cloud gaming is going to become more of a front in gaming. So let's assume this is real. I think this is kind of their foray into that. Is we don't own these massive data centers. We don't want to contract out because you can't play our games on a fucking PC anyway because we don't care about that. You all have a little mini server in your house. You have internet, access your own cloud computing from your own resources. I think that would make a lot of sense. And I think, if this is real, that's kind of the mindset behind it.
Yeah. I mean, what when it comes to cloud, they rely on Microsoft's infrastructure. No,
I believe that's what we saw that in an article like not long ago, right?
right? Isn't Azure
Yeah, Azure is
Microsoft?
theirs. Yeah. I couldn't
Uh,
remember if it was Azure AWS, but yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's Azure.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I think to just dial it back to what you said, it's worth talking about, but the problem is we have no idea if it's actually real or not. And to that point as well, and this is what like throws even more skepticism at it for me, is that we have a history of Sony patenting things, right? And then nothing comes of it. And
Hmm.
this was something that they patented. I remember we talked about it. They patented effectively a Switch style controller where it was a device that was a dual I guess it was probably at the time a DualShock 4 looking, but
Hmm.
the middle was a screen. Um and nothing came of it until potentially now. We've talked about how many different Sony patents, because they have these like cool ideas and they're fun to talk about, but then you talk about them and then you forget about them and then nothing happens. And just recently, uh, that as well as within this week, um, there's a rumor that Sony is or PlayStation is tinkering with heating and cooling within controllers. I don't know if you saw about that.
I didn't.
Um, And so it would be basically environmental tie-ins. So similar to how they're trying to make it more realistic when you're pressing down on the gas pedal and drawing back on a bowstring. If you are walking through, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a an area that makes you, think of God of War, right? Like you travel to these different realms, and you're in like a realm that's extremely hot or extremely cold, and there's lava or there's tons of snow. Your controller will actually change temperature in your hands to like convey that feeling.
It's so funny to me. I don't know if you remember this or not, but in the PS3 era, Sony published a patent for essentially anxiety sensing. And people
Yes.
said this was going to like de facto be in the DualShock 4. They said like the PS4 is going to ship with this feature. It's going to have it. Essentially, what it is it's got little heart rate sensors, which like not a novel technology. Like these are
No.
everywhere, especially treadmills. Especially, essentially, you are playing your game, and like if you're playing Call of Duty, I think was the main example because Modern Warfare 2 was like the big game when this was a thing. Like the higher your heart rate, the more like scope sway you'd have in game,
Hmm.
and nothing ever came of that. And like people were so certain that that was going to be a controller feature in the PS4 era.
Right.
It just reminds me of that.
Yeah. So I mean, like, is the idea like, cool? I guess. Right. Like, sure.
Hmm.
It's neat. Like, I'm all for anything to make it more immersive. Um, do I also feel like it's extremely unnecessary? Yes, definitely. Definitely the heating and cooling one is extremely unnecessary.
Hmm.
Especially if I'm without power. Well, if I'm without power, I don't know how I'd be playing my PS5. Well, no, if I'm without power and I hook up a generator, the thing that I'm going to hook up to the generator is my PS5 and the TV. So this is a
Yeah,
fair example. But I don't have heat. But I have to play God of War, and I'm in the cold area. I don't want my controller to get cold because I'm already potentially going into like hypothermia.
right. And you don't want your controller to battery to last 1 hour instead of three.
Right. uh so that like comes out, right? And I think I saw that after this. Maybe I saw it before. But like again, that's just like the other thing that makes me just kind of go like, like they always come up with these like fairly cool ideas and you get so excited for them and then nothing comes of them because that's just how things go. Like it's neither good or bad, I'll say. But,
Hmm.
you know, you get talking about it just enough to forget about the last one, and then another one comes out and you're like, "Oh my god, this would be awesome." And then nothing comes of it. Again,
And
I sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead because I think what I'm going to say is kind of my de facto stance on this whole thing.
Sure. So, I mean, I see a realm where like this whole like potentially remote play controller is like a legitimate thing. I mean, I think again with the Switch and now the Steam Deck, there's clearly there's been other devices as well. But to point out those two that have been very successful, there's clearly a push desire again, once again, to have your gaming in your hands. Um, and so I can see a realm where they actually think this is a good idea and are actually actively doing it. And I think it's smart if they do. Like, I would love for it to be a Vita and not simply be a way for me to play my PS5, but I'll take what I can get, I guess. If I can, like I said earlier when I was talking about the remote play, but if I could actually just go to the bathroom and sit on the toilet and just play a game of MLB The Show instead of having to work the market, amazing. You know, if I decide I want to go to bed, but it's mostly just that I want to lay down because I'm a sloth, but I don't want to actually give up playing, I can just go play in bed. You know, it's the awesome part of having a Switch. Um, so I see a path where this makes sense, and they're doing it, and it's going to be a thing. But at the same time, track record and all that tells me not to be surprised when this goes by the wind and, instead we're left with, I don't know, what's the other thing they can do? A PS5 controller that does actually toast your bread
Right.
and butters it for you.
That's a benefit I'd pay for. I think I'm getting more and more jaded to technology the more and more that companies come out and say, like, this is absolutely the direction we have to head in. And I'm a big cloud computing fan in general. I love the idea of cloud gaming, but do you know what cloud gaming will never, and like whatever associated accessories, whether it be like a dedicated portable controller or whatever, do you know what that will never beat?
The tender touch of a woman.
I wouldn't know what that feels like. So, but honestly, really close to Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
I just I love technology innovation. I think everyone knows that about me at this point. I just and you know, let's have this conversation again in 2030 when, the infrastructure is there to like actually say, okay, I'm going to have this PlayStation portable console that can only stream from my PlayStation 8 or whatever. And I guess it would only be like the PS6 at that point. But like it just needs to be simple. It needs to be as easy as walking up,
Mm-hmm.
picking up a switch from a dock,
Mm-hmm.
and your game being there. And I understand that we need to take these small steps to
Right.
get there. But if you're Sony, and I think this is Xbox's philosophy, and I think this is why we'll never see an Xbox portable, is that your R&D should not be in building physical devices. There are other companies that want to do that, that are good at that. Let them do that. Build the infrastructure that is good for other companies to build that hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And
But will PlayStation ever actually like truly like want to give that up, you think?
give what up?
Like give up being the ones to actually like make the hardware and devices and stuff like that. Like it just
It's
doesn't seem like something that they're willing to do.
I don't think it's about giving it up. I think it's about waiting until the right time.
Mm-hmm.
We just like I feel like everyone is just so jaded to the gimmicks, and I think VR is um, such a great example of that. PSVR was, in my opinion, really good.
Mm-hmm.
PSVR 2, from what I understand, really good, and people still don't care. And I understand, like, you can have the conversation about price range and how that's out of touch and all of that, but like, it's still just a party trick. People
Right.
just want to be able to pick up a controller and play a game on the TV, and then when they want to go to bed, they want to like just take that game, that physical game, and go play it and not have to jump through hoops and
Yep.
be able to put it down and not have setup and all this stuff and not have to worry about internet going out.
Right.
Where I'm going with this is if you want a portable solution, it needs to be native. So work on literally building a Vita 2. Um, and again, this is just kind of where Nintendo has this insane advantage where you only have to buy one game. And I understand Sony tried to do like, oh, well, if you buy it for console, you
Yeah.
also get it for portable. But that was a licensing nightmare, and I don't think it really worked out for developers because they had to develop two games and they were only getting paid for one. You know, um, I don't know. I guess I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think it's something like this.
Yeah, and you brought up the PSVR, and that was going to be kind of my last like wrap up with this is like we don't have a price point for this, what this device is going to cost, and that's something that I think they have to be like really smart about because like PSVR 2, it's tough to say. Is it truly just the price point? Or, like you said, is it the fact that it's a party trick that not enough people care about? How much is it? $550?
550 for the headset and the required connections alone, I think, and
So,
two controllers.
so if it's, if it would have been, sorry to put you on the spot, but do you remember what PSVR had cost?
I want to say it was 299 without the Move controllers and the camera.
Perfect. So let's just say 300 though for PSVR 2. If it would have been $300, how much better would have it sold? I can't imagine much better.
I'm not going to say that sales. So let's essentially say that it's half the price that it is. I'm not going to say that sales would be double what they currently are, which is
Right.
what they projected.
Right. There's
And
just
they
no way.
projected like 2 million in 2 million units in sales in the first year, and now the projection is one. Like, I still don't think he would have made that up.
Right. The people who bought it were going to buy it almost regardless of the price. Now, at some point, you would price enough people out of it, but
And it's
that's
exactly what happened with the Vita. I mean, the Vita wasn't cheap,
that was also
but
what,
like
250, 300?
I think it was 250 for the Wi-Fi and 300 for the 3G model.
Okay. That sounds about right. Yeah,
But like again, portable gaming at that point was kind of on the way out.
I mean a Switch costs 300, right? And that actually is like it docks and can be portable.
Hmm.
So where I come around on this is like if this ends up being a real thing, it doesn't have 5G, right? Like you can't take it with you or you can't really take it on the go. You can, but not to the extent of a Switch or even a Vita. What the hell is the price point going to be of this thing, right? I think this has to be at par with the DualSense Edge, or else there's no way anybody buys it.
If it's Wi-Fi only,
Yeah,
so I think if it's Wi-Fi only, I think it's going to be 200.
which is I think what a DualSense Edge is
My opinion is it should be one. If you want adoption, it should be 100
for the Wi-Fi only one.
for the Wi-Fi only.
Okay.
Now, if you want to get into like actually having a 5G enabled console, then I think it's reasonable to ask, 200, 250. It's essentially what it's going to be is a cheap Android phone with controllers attached.
Mm-hmm.
Those really aren't that expensive to manufacture. Especially when people have the option of adding like a backbone to their phone. And like those are, I mean, the PlayStation uh, partnered backbone was like $200 too, wasn't it? Just for
I
the thing that attaches to your phone.
I think so. Let me look quick.
I want to say it's like, somewhere between like the 130 to 200 range, which is egregious. It's amazing. Like, because you're paying for the experience.
Let's see. Backbone one. God, I fucking hate how people make you jump through hoops. I just want to see the controller. $100.
For the PlayStation branded one or the regular backbone?
Oh.
And if I remember correctly, the PlayStation branded one was significantly more expensive than the same exact controller without the PlayStation branding.
I don't know. I feel like I only see. I just see. Oh, PlayStation Edition. Hang on. Yeah, PlayStation. Yeah. Backbone one for iPhone PlayStation Edition is $100.
Okay.
But let me see what their regular iPhone controller is, which I'm guessing can be compatible with just doing.
Yeah, it's the same
remote
exact
play
controller. Yeah,
is
because the
also,
PlayStation doesn't know the difference.
yeah, this is also saying $100.
Hmm.
So maybe the PlayStation one dropped because I vaguely remember it being higher as well.
I thought it was like somewhere between like $50 and $70 more expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. Daddy might need to pick this up. What? Who's daddy?
Can you get this one laser etched with Daddy's favorite?
I don't know. I don't know if they let me have that customizability.
Yeah,
Customability.
you can bring it over. I'm pretty sure my 3D printer has a laser engraver. I don't think it's meant for controllers, but we'll find out together.
Who cares? It's only $100. Am I right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So basically, though, well, okay, you're providing the phone. So like, if this is $100, right, an attachment for your phone.
Hmm.
Okay, let's say the Wi-Fi. If it's just Wi-Fi, let's say 150, right? Because they're providing you a screen as well.
But I also don't think that these backbone attachments should be $100.
Oh, I mean, sure,
I
but I'm
think,
just talking about like what makes logical sense based on
yeah,
what we know. But my immediate jump is that like it's going to cost $250. It's going to cost more than a DualSense Edge, which is already, again, to your point, shouldn't cost as much as it does. And yeah, you just keep going down this like rabbit hole of like you're not going to get anybody to, again, you want adoption, you wanted to get it into people's hands, and you're just not going to get that if you keep pricing people out of it. Like it's a novelty item. You have to like get people in on it, and nobody's going to be willing to pay $550 for effectively a party trick.
yeah.
So that's also going to be super interesting around all of this. If it exists, will it be within a price range for the average PlayStation user to say, yeah, this is worth it for me to pick up?
I mean, so that Logitech G Cloud, I think, launched at 299 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and that was only Wi-Fi enabled. I that just makes no sense to me. I
Yeah.
mean, that's it, that provides nothing that I can't already do.
Yeah.
I bought a $10 clip that attaches to an actual Xbox controller and holds my phone, and it's not providing anything that, or the Logitech thing isn't providing anything that my phone can't do.
Right.
I mean, in my office, I literally like I have a laptop. It's not a gaming PC, but I can play Xbox games on it, and I didn't like that. Doesn't cost me any extra to do. I just don't get this. I don't understand what the selling point is. To like, it's not worth $300 to do something I can already do pretty comfortably too.
Right. I think at the end of the day, the worst part about all of this is that I'm going to want to buy it. Whatever this uh codename Q Lite handheld is for Sony,
Mm,
I'm going to want to get it. And I hate that for me.
that's an awful situation to be in.
Yeah. What's funny though is in this article from Insider Gaming, but again, Tom Henderson, uh, it says, uh, you know, Sony is getting ready, is ramping up for the second phase of the PS5. He quotes Jeff Grubb as saying that. And there's been rumblings that like a big old PlayStation showcase needs to happen and all this stuff. In here it says that the Q Lite Insider Gaming understands that the Q Lite is in its QA phase and is scheduled to release before the PlayStation 5 Pro, which again we aren't sure is real, and
Mhm.
after the detachable disk drive. The detachable disk drive PS5. I thought it was just a detachable disk drive. I didn't realize it was a full blown.
So initially, before the Tom Henderson article came out saying, like, talking about PS5 Pro and mid-generation upgrades or whatever, it was just Sony's going to stop manufacturing the PS5 with the disk drive, and they're only going to standardize the digital edition and then sell a USB-C disk drive you can just plug into the front of it.
Which I'd love if they did that.
Yeah, I think that's what it will be. I don't really get this talk of like manufacturing a specific detachable disk drive PS5
Yeah.
unless they just start bundling it together. Which, okay, semantics there, but
yeah.
it's gonna be the digital edition with an external optical drive.
So it goes on to say that like that's the thing, right? So they have that coming, and then other hardware, including Project Nomad, which are wireless earphones, Project Voyager, which is their new wireless headset, the Q Lite, and then whatever the PlayStation 5 air quotes Pro, which would be it's alleged by them to be holiday 2024. So between a year and a half worth of time, we're going to see the detachable disk drive. We're going to see new wireless earphones, a new wireless headset, this potential handheld, and then wrap it all up with Infinity War and Endgame. No, wait, the PlayStation 5 Pro. I don't know. Maybe. So I can't wait for the showcase to happen, and none of this is talked about. Maybe the detachable disk drive, because they're like, this is something that makes sense for us to just have as an item. So, hey, Spencer, you specifically, who sometimes regret that you only bought the digital edition because you see things about uh, things becoming obsolete, and you're like, oh, well, as long as I have a physical copy of this thing that gives me a license, that'll be good.
And it'll cost more than just getting the original like optical drive PS5.
Yeah. Oh God, don't
It's
say
gonna be
that.
$150 drive.
Gotcha, sucker.
And they're not gonna manufacture the $500 PS5 anymore. So like, there you go.
Hopefully, it's only $50. But you just brought up my nightmare situation. But that I can see being a thing, right? Like that attachment just makes a ton of sense. I mean, I guess a new wireless headset, like sure, but I just can't. Like I said, I can't wait for none of this to like even come up whenever they have a showcase, which will probably be June.
Yeah, my final thought is this will never see the light of day.
Specifically, the Q Lite, the handheld.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll to be contrarian, I'll say it will see the light of day.
Okay.
There you have it. Hey, that's how you play both sides.
That's how we're the podcast. It's always right.
Yeah. Oh. Did Spencer or Mike predict something right? Who could have guessed? Back on our bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think we adequately talked about a rumor for 40 minutes.
Yeah. One that we said had no bearing and probably shouldn't even really be talked about.
Don't mind me, I'm just patting myself on the shoulder. Making something out of nothing?
Yeah. Wow.
Look at us.
At the end of the day, Tom Henderson is our hero because he lets us make content out of bullshit.
Yeah. I'll take a fun rumor like this over, I don't really know what a bad rumor is.
Oh, I love talking about it. I liked talking about this more than mid-gen upgrades.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
But like, it doesn't negate the fact that it frustrates me that someone is just trying to make a name for themselves and people run with it.
Yeah. This one I feel like more people picked up. Maybe I just wasn't online as much during the midlife upgrade thing. So I don't know. Maybe that's the reason. But I did feel like I saw, like I said, like Benji Sales was talking about it, and not that he's like the perfect industry insider or anything, but I feel like if other people within the industry are talking about it, they must believe in it enough, or they believe in
Mhm.
Tom Henderson enough. One of the two. So I don't know. Regardless, remember when Tom Henderson and Jason Schreier had a fight?
Yeah, it was great.
Good times. Good times. Take me back to last year? Question mark?
Back when there was passion in video game journalism,
Yeah. Yeah.
people cared.
Yeah. Fuck
And
you,
we
Kotaku.
had an E3. Yeah, fuck you, Kotaku.
All right. Well, I think that does it then for this episode. Apologies for the 1 day delay.
And for
There's
E3 getting canceled, I guess we can take responsibility for that too.
yeah. Um, I poorly communicated, so here we are. But next week, we know for a fact we're gonna try and test out the new Cyberpunk update that releases on the 11th. So we'll hopefully have some stuff to talk about there, and just the new features as a whole. But that was thrown out to us by friend of the show and former uh, member of the podcast,
Sure,
guest,
I think that's
guest,
fair.
guest of the podcast, London. So at the very least, we know that's coming, and then anything else that pops up. So look forward to it. Thank you as always for listening. If you could be so kind as to leave us a rating or review wherever you do listen. And I forgot to say it at the top, but we do post the audio of this podcast with a nice little graphic over on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to us over there. Leave a comment if it's to your liking. Other than that, best thing you can do is share this podcast. And so, we moved on from moms. We've had our fill of mothers, right, Mike? So, a new era is set to come for the podcast, and so we have to find what that new group is going to be. I don't even remember what we said last week, but I know it was poorly planned and thought out, because it was at that moment that I decided to say that we don't care about moms anymore.
Ooh,
But yeah,
semantics.
so what do we think? But what feels right? Who do we share it with this week?
Let's share it with the Easter Bunny.
Oh, share it
Ooh.
with the Easter Bunny, or share it with somebody in your life who has died and come back to life after a couple of days. Yeah, we'll talk to you next week.